This is my Moby Grape album ranking video, which means I'm done with reviewing Moby Grape. So my next set of reviews is going to be Jack White's solo career. So I'm going to start that with Blunderbuss, either later this week or early next week. So I'm ranking 8 albums here. I'm not including Moby Grape Live, and I'm not including Grape Jam, but I am including Live Grape. The reason for that's kind of complicated, I guess. I'm not including Moby Grape Live because it's like a compilation of live concerts. Live Grape I'm including because it has new songs on it. It has songs that weren't on albums, so it's kind of like a new album, just live. And I'm not including Grape Jam since that was just kind of a bonus thing that went with WoW. If I had included that, it would have been in last because I think it's the least essential thing that they released. It was a relatively easy band for me to rank compared to what it usually is, and the reason for that I think is pretty obvious because these guys unfortunately had a lot of problems with the band. They were kind of out of their control with different members having problems with mental illness and being in and out of the band. And a lot of their albums are kind of reunion albums from later on. They have the first 4, and then after that it's all like reunion stuff with different members sometimes not being there. So that kind of leads to like a slow decline in quality, I feel like, of their albums. Even though I don't think they've ever released anything that is exactly horrible. I enjoy pretty much all of these albums to a degree. So in 8th and last I have Live Grape. This one was kind of hard for me to decide where to put it, and it ended up here for a few reasons, mainly because it's not a whole lot of the band even on it really. It's like only 3 of them. I can't remember off the top of my head who it is. I know it's Jerry Miller, and I'm pretty sure Peter Lewis, and I want to say I think Skip Spence is on here as well. But it's not a bad album. I've had it not as I haven't had this one as long as I've had some of the others, so that might be the reason it kind of came in low. I couldn't really think of any songs on it that jumped out at me as much as some of the songs on the other albums. But I do think it is a pretty good sounding live album. It's pretty enjoyable. It's mainly kind of a showcase for Jerry Miller, I feel like. His guitar playing on it's really good, so it's definitely good for fans of his guitar playing. And like I said, not a bad album. It just doesn't jump out as much as some of the other stuff. In 7th, I have Legendary Grape. And I was kind of tempted to put this one last, and really the main reason why it came in above Live Grape is it has more of the band on it. This one has Don Stevenson and Bob Mosley, as well as Peter Lewis and Jerry Miller. So it had more of the band. And another reason was that it has 2 or 3 songs that kind of really stand out to me that I enjoy quite a bit. But it is pretty low because I think the production on it's not that great. It's just not the best sounding album. I feel like it was probably recorded with kind of a low budget and stuff, since there really wasn't that many of this put out. When it originally came out, I think it was only 500 cassettes. So I feel like that kind of hampers it a little bit, but still not a bad album, just not the best sounding production. Number 6, I have 20 Granite Creek, their first reunion album. This one was another one that was kind of hard to place. I think it really kind of comes down to here because some of the songs on this, I think, I don't know if they kind of rushed into this or what, but it seems like a few of the songs are maybe a little underwritten, but there are a lot of songs on here that I really like. Gypsy Wedding, About Time, Apocalypse. It's got some good stuff on it. It's got some stuff that I think is a little less good, but still nothing on here that's horrible. I don't think the production's that great sounding, but still a pretty good album. Number 5 is Truly Fine Citizen, the last of their Columbia albums. This album also only has 3 members of the band on it, but I don't know, it still feels more Grape than Live Grape did. I think it was kind of recorded as more of like a contractual obligation, because I don't know if they even like wanted to keep going after they lost Bob Mosley as well as Skip Spence. But they went and recorded this in Nashville, and I think it's a really good sounding album. I really like Bob Johnson's production, and I think they still had a couple great songs left in them. There's I think 2 or 3 songs on here that I think are really great Moby Grape songs, and there's quite a few good ones, a few that I'm not as crazy about, but nothing bad. They're just kind of less memorable. So this album I think is pretty underrated album, and I think one of my favorite sounding of their albums production wise. Number 4, I have Moby Grape 84. This album really surprised me. I wasn't really expecting a whole lot from it. Kind of a later era reunion album for them in the 80s. So yeah, I wasn't expecting much. I was really surprised by it though. I like a lot of the songs on here. I like the way it sounds for the most part. So yeah, just Moby Grape 84, really big surprise for me. I think it's a really kind of underrated, overlooked album in their catalog, because like I've never really heard anything about it until I got it. Like I don't even know anything about the backstory behind it. It was produced by their manager, or former manager, who they were having legal problems with, so I feel like that's interesting. Who knows what was going on with that. But yeah, just a really solid album for such a late career reunion. Number 3, I have Moby Grape 69. This one I've had for a long time, so there's a little bit of nostalgia with it. But I think this is just a really solid album still. They kind of stripped back things a little bit after all the psychedelic stuff of WoW, and they still have a bunch of great songs here. Some that I like a little bit less, but most of this album, if I was making a Moby Grape playlist, like more than half of this album would end up on it. Number 2, and really these last 2 albums were the hardest to pick, and they could flip-flop probably on any day. And really the reason why I picked this one, number 2, like it just came down to one song. And number 2, I have their second album, WoW, and I kind of really wanted to put this first. I really love this album. I love the kind of psychedelic trippiness of it. Just all the weird stuff they did. I even love the Gene Autry Like a Foxtrot song. I think it's great. The only thing on here that kind of holds it back for me is Funky Tunk and the Donald Duck voice. And it kind of bothers me even more because like they had some really good songs that they left off this around that time. I don't know. Well, I don't know if they had them then. I can't say that like I know enough about when they were recording stuff. Maybe those weren't ready for the release of this, and that's why they put that on there. But there's a bonus track on the CD version of this, Stop, that's one of my favorite songs by them. Like I wouldn't leave it off a playlist of theirs. They had Seen, I think from like around this time, and that's a great song too. So I don't know why Funky Tunk got on there. Maybe it was just timing or something. But yeah, WoW, really great album. I think really underrated. I think that like the psychedelic parts of it might be a little bit too much for some people, especially people who are fans of the more like straightforward sound of the first album. But I really enjoy a lot of the instrumentation. I think it's got some of their best songs, and I think the production's really good on it too. I like all the trippy, weird stuff they're doing. So yeah, number 1, I have Moby Grape, the debut album. Probably not really surprising anyone. This was probably like the most cliche pick I could have made with this, but this is really probably their best album in a way. Like I said, I just have that problem with the one track on WoW. But this is probably more true to what the band sounded like than WoW was, even if they had like included a better song than Funky Tongue. This is probably just like the most pure form of Moby Grape that ever existed, because it seems like, you know, right after this and right after WoW they started losing people, and it was never, you know, quite the same again. So like they're a band that I don't almost like, I don't want to say that they peaked on their first album, because I almost feel like they didn't get a chance to peak because they just had you know, so much talent, and if this lineup had been able to stay together and they hadn't had all the problems, then maybe they could have you know, kept making albums like this where every track is good. It's like this album is honestly so equal that it's hard to pick like a weak track on here. So yeah, my number one Moby Grape album is Moby Grape.